So, I could go through trying to explain everything, but like, Crit Crab does a wonderful job of explaining it. So I'm just going to steal Crit Crab's content. Because that's how I am. So if you're not following Crit Crab, you should follow Crit Crab. He makes some pretty good videos from time to time. And basically,
what a glowing endorsement.
Yeah, you know, basically, if you're not following, the long and short of it is that Wizards of the Coast Hasbro is doing everything they can to utterly ruin Dungeons and Dragons and destroy the entire franchise. So let's get into this. I want to see how Mark responds to it, because I like told him kind of what's going on, but it'll be interesting to see. So this is from 5 days ago. Apparently there was a very, very recent update, like that some people put out on Twitter. I'll show that. And then somebody did like a video like an hour ago. And so like, I might check it out. If it seems like nothing or it's not adding nothing, we'll continue. But like, this is a perfect example of why IP is such a trash, made up bullshit thing. Because IP is likely going to destroy Dungeons and Dragons if these people do not chill the fuck out.
Leak about the future of Dungeons & Dragons is to be believed, then D&D is at war with its community, creators, and player base. This video will cover everything that led up to this point, and why creators are walking away from D&D entirely. To start from the beginning, D&D
Hey, what's up, Zaxus?
Had a huge surge of popularity in the mid to late 2010s for a multitude of reasons during the reign of 5th edition. This drove more creators towards it. Content creators of all kinds, be they writers, artists, designers, YouTubers, manufacturers, they all gathered around this game. It was a next...
I mean, so to be fair, like, 5th edition was certainly a saving grace for Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like 3rd edition was fun. Yeah, like 3rd edition was fun. 3.5 was insanely bloated. 4th edition doesn't exist. We don't like to talk about it. Okay, 4th edition was never a thing. If someone tells you, Pathfinder, that's what 4th edition was.
But why did it suck?
It just sucked, and we don't talk about it.
Yeah, but why?
We don't talk about it. Fuck off.
But I'm really trying to get into D&D. I feel like I can't be a part of the community if I don't understand why Pathfinder is so bad.
No, I never said Pathfinder was bad. I said 4th edition doesn't exist, and if it does, we call it Pathfinder. Continuing on.
Nexus of creative flow. Over the course of several years, D&D became less of a brand and more of a community. It meant more than the player's handbook or the starter set. It meant RuneSmith's Twisted Taverns. It meant Critical Role. More than anything else, it meant enjoying it in your own way. All the way.
I still think Critical Role is like still like has the record for the most income earned in a year on Twitch. Like that's how big D&D really is. People try and act like it's nothing. It's like, dude.
Way down to the unique way that you run the game at your table. Third-party content reinvented Dungeons & Dragons, and it is the only reason I'm here at all. I own exactly one D&D book, the Player's Handbook, but I own countless pieces of third-party content, from books to merch. Wizards of the Coast can't keep up with the creators and...
No, pause. Like, how are you that into D&D and you only own one book? Like, I mean, I got the DMG, I got the Monster Manual, I got Xanthars. Some of them I don't physically own anymore, to be honest. But I've purchased them.
And they know that. Every time they release one good book, creators have already released 10 excellent works of art, with 10 more on the way. And the execs at Wizards and Hasbro know this. This is a trend that has only been getting more popular. Third-party content creators have been knocking it out of the park lately. Just look at all of the Kickstarters. So many creators from around the world were creating, profiting, and building communities around specific niches in the D&D community, cultivating the best ways to enjoy this one game in many different styles. Generally speaking, everything improved. Anyways, D&D had a golden age for close to 10 years now. But of course...
So it's important to recognize, why does D&D have a golden age? Now, some of it is, it's just part of the lexicon of fantasy at this point, right? Every damn video game that you play that's an RPG is in some way, shape, or form informed by Dungeons and Dragons rule sets, right? Like, I mean, when you play an RPG and you have strength and constitution and dexterity, right? Like, recognize where those came from. That came from Dungeons and Dragons. So that's part of it. But a huge part of the success of Dungeons and Dragons has been its open license, has been the fact that people have been able to create things, right, that were based off of the rule set, but put their own twist on it, their own ideas added to it. And the idea that when you open up the player's handbook and when you open up the Dungeon Master's Guide, what you're constantly told is this is a set of guidelines, but you as a group and especially your Dungeon Master can change the rules. That it's a collective imaginative process, right? Like that's what it is. And so nothing is set in stone.
Nothing lasts forever. It's time for the bad news. In late 2022, this...
You said Drakensong will take over? Look, I have a Drakensong book. Hold on. Hold on. We're going to compare two things. Look, I really want to play Drakensong with someone, okay? I have an English version of Drakensong right here. I've read this cover to cover. Now, for comparison, this is the the player's handbook for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Okay? So this is okay, Drakensong is fucking twice its fucking size. There's no if you like 3rd edition and you like especially if you like advanced Dungeons and Dragons and 2nd ed, you might like Drakensong, but Drakensong is an incredibly complex game with like negative and plus points and tons of fucking math and like cultural bonuses, and you get like a character creation involves a whole bunch of points, and you can add points, but you can also minus points, or sorry, you can add points with like physical disfigurements and things like that to use for other feats. Its magic system is incredibly like Drakensong is not for the faint of heart. Like
just tell me which dice to roll, nerd.
It's a D20, right? But a nat 1 is a crit. Like a 20 is like your failure. So it's in reverse order of Dungeons and Dragons.
Same odds, so.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more pluses and minuses. All right, but continuing, like I really want to play Drakensong. Drakensong is brutal though.
CEOs of Hasbro and Wizards had an investor call where it was discussed that D&D as a brand is under-monetized. This raised red flags throughout the community, and for good reason. Of everything discussed, and there was a lot, I'm just going to focus on the most relevant of the flaming mess that is the current state of Dungeons & Dragons public relations. To quote Game Rant, Wizards of the Coast is seeking to transform Dungeons & Dragons into a multimedia franchise, with more options for profit as it seeks to create a recurring spending environment.
It already is.
Yeah, it's like we're already at Baldur's Gate 3 coming out.
But what they really mean is we're trying to make it a multimedia franchise under Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, that's exactly what they mean, right? Like we're trying to profit off of it. I don't know how many times they have to make failed movies to realize that the community just does this better.
That reaches.
Has anybody ever? Is there a good D&D movie? Don't worry, I'll wait. I will watch chat die. Okay, I will gladly. I won't shut the fuck up. I will gleefully look at chat as no one has anything to say about a good Dungeons and Dragons movie. Okay, there are plenty to pick from, by the way.
Reaches more fans. So people spent the next week memeing about a Dungeons & Dragons battle pass complete with microtransactions, but the word multimedia is key. Multimedia, of course, means movies, video games, and more than just tabletop. But this seems to have been altered, as just a couple days ago, on January 3rd, it was revealed that Hasbro has had some financial difficulties. Their shares fell 40% last year. The company also canceled an internal project codenamed Jabberwocky, and 2 other games that were in early development. Also, we should take into account the fact that Dungeons & Dragons is by far Wizards' biggest IP. I don't think anyone would disagree with the fact that when it comes to public...
Okay, so Vox Machina is D&D, but it's Critical Role, right? Like this is stuff under open license. So that's not Wizards of the Coast's doing. They might have played They might have played a part.
Dragons is by far Wizards' biggest IP. I don't think anyone would disagree with the fact that when it comes to public awareness and cultural impact, Dungeons & Dragons is bigger than anything else that Wizards of the Coast has ever done. However, despite being the biggest role-playing game ever made, out of the $1.3 billion in net revenue that Wizards of the Coast posted last year, a UBS analyst estimates that D&D is only responsible for 100 to 150 million in annual revenue.
This is where I start to feel like a communist. When it's like only 150 million, you know what I mean? Like I start to like there's still a little deep in my heart. There's still a little lefty somewhere that hasn't been killed from my days of a socialist where I'm like, shut the fuck up. 150 million is plenty. Like fuck off.
Yeah, but them getting too greedy will ultimately be a good thing because they'll collapse, lose the IP, and then people can just go back to making Dungeons and Dragons material.
That is true. Shadow Warden makes
fuck
a good point. Yeah, fuck him. But he makes a good point. It did start off as Pathfinder, which is basically
a lot.
No, it didn't, because that doesn't exist, so it couldn't have started that way.
That's not what I said, fuckface. I said 4th edition doesn't exist, and if it does exist, we call it Pathfinder.
But that's not exactly the point. The point is that from a corporate perspective, something as huge and game-changing as Dungeons & Dragons should generate more profit. This could mean a lot of things, but in my opinion, this suggests that D&D is shifting away from expensive video game projects and refocusing on mastering making money off of the existing tabletop game. And who better to monetize than the people who create their own content better than them? This takes us to the open game license. For those who don't know, any Dungeons & Dragons content that is created by anyone other than Wizards can only do so because of the open game license, a document that effectively...
I mean, yeah, but it's like it's in lieu of the bullshit IP. Like we shouldn't have IP laws to begin with, right? This basically circumnavigates the issues of IP law.
Yeah, I find that this OGL really weird.
What do you mean?
I mean, we know about. You and I already know what's in it. Just like, so I'm just mean like the way they're trying to like word this and like just take over everything that's existing already is just like really shitty and like strange.
Oh yeah, you're getting ahead. Fair enough. This is the original OGL. This is what currently exists.
Yeah.
Allows people to create
Leviticus.
and profit off of their own original Dungeons & Dragons content. No paperwork needed, no need to pay anyone royalties, just go for it. That is about to change big time. What we know for sure, just before the end of the year, they released a blog statement stating exactly what their goals are. Coming very soon in 2023, they stated that any creator has...
Silver Ogre, how fucking old are you if you're bringing up chainmail?
Exactly what their goals are. Coming very soon in 2023, they stated that any creator has to abide by these rules. 1. If you make more than $50K a year off of what you create, you have to report your revenue annually to them. 2. Include a creator product badge on your work. And 3. Accept the license terms and let them know what you're offering for sale. They also added that if you...
So right off the bat, right, assuming these leaks are true, if you make more than 50K in a year off of whatever it is that you're doing, you have to give them all of your financial records, right? You have to license everything with them, and you have to make sure that they know everything that you're doing, basically. But wait, there's more.
And 3. Accept the license terms and let them know what you're offering for sale. They also added that if you create content and it makes $750,000 within the span of 1 year, you will have to pay royalties on that. This change has caused a huge rift in the community. Many say that these changes are all completely reasonable, while another huge group of people are saying that this is all either terrible right now or a slippery slope to something much worse.
I'm surprised this hasn't happened before now, but go on.
So now what they also want to do is they want to add a royalty for anybody making $750,000, right? That sounds reasonable if you assume that like IP is good, right? So like Critical Role, what is it? What is Brennan's fucking D&D project?
Dimension 20, I think.
Yeah, Dimension 20. You know, what are those guys in New Zealand?
Viva La Dirt League.
Viva La Dirt League, right? Like a lot of these content creators that like are putting on shows, they'll have to do a royalty, right? Drew Karpyshyn and like those two BioWare developers that like made like a campaign book set in like Greece or whatever. Like they've made, I think, more like over $1 million, right? So like people making like a large chunk of money, they'll have to pay a royalty. And if you're okay with IP, that sounds reasonable, right? Like you're using you're building off of our intellectual property that we own. You have to pay us a small percentage, of the money that you make, assuming you're getting close to $1 million in a year. That's not what they're offering.
Yeah, what's that percentage that they want from your total revenue?
The leak that we're about to read is to be believed, then the people who believe the worst from Dungeons & Dragons are absolutely correct. Yesterday, January 4th, a journalist named Linda Kodega stated that she received the new OGL from a reputable, unnamed source. And it's a lot to take
Reputable,
reputable.
Yeah, that just bothers me.
What's written in here is genuinely community killing. She writes that the updated open game license is incredibly restrictive, demands community surveillance, and most importantly, renders the previous open game license an unauthorized agreement. I will also clarify that this...
Oh yeah, that's really fucked too. They're like, no, this retroactively, like this is a retroactive
yes.
thing.
So
if you are today.
Right. So if you're already doing a show, for example, right? Like you're doing a campaign and it's supposed to be 100 episodes and you're 25 episodes in and it's 3rd edition, right? Well, figure something out because you're going to go into this new royalty phase now, despite the fact that in the past you were fine.
This is all
But wait, there's more.
Oh, yeah, there's way more, boys.
And while I will show you signs that I believe point to it being true, they still remain unconfirmed and should not be treated as fact. Let's rip off the band-aid. First off, if this is to be believed, just to let you know how much of a big deal this is, the current OGL is just less than 900 words, which is pretty short for a legal document. Basically just enough to say, go do what you want, champ, it's all yours. The new OGL 1.1, as they call it, is over 9,000 words. Which means they are adding a lot. Also, we finally have a set number for the royalties you owe. You will owe 25% on any money that you make that exceeds $750K. The leak
25% royalties
of your total revenue, not even of your profits.
Of your revenue, well, exceeding $750K. Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's once you hit the $750K mark, but sure.
Right. So if you're selling $2 million worth of product in revenue, right? And you're like any business in America, right? Do you guys know what the average profit is on a business in America? Not in its first year, overall. 14%.
It's like less, okay.
14% profit, right? So they want 11% more than the average profit margin of a company. Okay? Like, so if they're doing 2 million, right? They want a quarter of that. They want $500,000 in, well, actually they want 25% of women, 250, and then like they want like $325,000 on 2 million. Okay, and that is insane. 2 million in product is like 200K net. I sell 1.1 in net, about 110K. Yeah, but you're going to be paying a 25% royalty to Wizards of the Coast.
He also says that if you release on Kickstarter, you only have to pay 20%, which sounds strange, but the director of games at Kickstarter, John Ritter, retweeted the thread with the leak and said that Kickstarter was contacted after Wizards decided to make OGL changes. So Kickstarter managed to get a lower percent plus more being discussed for people releasing D&D content. In my opinion...
So this adds a lot of credibility to these leaks, right? So if you're just saying, okay, well, it's a leak, it's all bullshit, you have Kickstarter CEO in the very least confirming that Kickstarter, if you do your project on Kickstarter, you'll only have to pay 20% royalties. But if you do your project or whatever it is you're doing anywhere other than Kickstarter, you'll have to pay 25%. 20% is still an insane fucking royalty. Like, it is business crushing. But that's what they negotiated. But it also lends to the idea that this isn't like a made up fucking leak, that this is almost certainly a true leak. Wait, D&D is a game that's being developed, aka also known as Know the Game from the 1980s. Technically, the game was being made in the late 70s, but
It
Opinion,
released
this gives
in,
the
I
rest
think, 79, 81, something like that.
of the leak a bit more credibility. It's still unconfirmed, of course, but this means that at least this one select part of the leak is much more than just he said, she said.
yeah, I don't remember when exactly the D&D name came out, but like there, Gygax was making like other tabletop and stuff before that, anyways.
But this
fair
means
enough.
that at least this one select part of the leak is much more than just he said, she said hearsay, given that someone who can speak on the subject with authority is only affirming this.
Oh, no, Deflux. No. I think I get what you're saying. No, this applies to all Dungeons and Dragons tabletop, games, movies, the entire franchise. So, like, if you're doing a podcast where you play Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition, this affects you too.
Hearsay, given that someone who can speak on the
Or even if you're playing AD&D.
part of the leak is much more than just he said, she said hearsay, given that someone who can speak on the subject with authority is only affirming this part of the leak. This OGL is in fact pointing its barrel at you, the creator. They state that the original OGL was not intended to subsidize major competitors, and they have a lot of competition in the form of their own community. Some people say that this spells a dark future for games like Pathfinder, but personally I do not think that any.
What's up?
They view their own community as like an enemy.
Well, yeah, well they view people that are making things as a competitor because they're not making money off of them. So they're like, yeah. I mean, I don't know that they're saying that specifically. This is gonna fuck the profits of Vox Machina show too. I don't know, because like I imagine that Vox Machina probably already has a deal with Wizards of the Coast.
Same with like Baldur's Gate 3.
Right. You know what I mean? Like I
Those
imagine
are probably negotiated under a whole separate contract.
Well, Baldur's Gate 3 is officially licensed by Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, then it's definitely under a completely separate agreement.
Yeah, it's not under open agreement or open game licensing, I think is what it's called. OGL.
Some
Open
people
game.
say that this spells a dark future for games like Pathfinder, but personally I do not think that any other independent RPG is in any danger here whatsoever. The new OGL will be applied retroactively to anything published before the new one went into effect. As soon as the new one goes up, the original will be unauthorized, meaning that you can't just leave the new 1D&D alone, create previous edition content, and be good. You have to comply.
Oh, Silver Ogre, we haven't even gotten to Wizards of the Coast pulling a Vader on Lando. It's going to get worse
with the new rules for every edition. The legality of this one is questionable, and I've heard debate online over whether or not they can even do this. I don't know either way, but this was in the leak. However, we are now at the absolute worst change in the entire document that leaves creators with zero security. Wizards can, quote, modify or terminate this agreement for any reason whatsoever, provided that they give 30 days notice. So if...
No. Yes, I'm going to go back. Quote, can modify or terminate this agreement for any reason whatsoever, provided we give 30 days notice. That is your Vader to Lando Calrissian, I have altered the deal, pray that I do not alter it any further moment.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it crazier than that? Like it's not across the board. They can just target you specifically.
Yeah, so
Your
your usage of the license. So like if let's say you start making millions, making a campaign book, and you're still managing to do so whilst paying Wizards of the Coast a 20 or 25% royalty, depending on where you launch the project, okay? They can just go, you know what? We really like this product and we want it to be ours. So if you want to keep doing it, in 30 days, we would like to inform you that we're changing the deal and you owe us a 90% royalty. Or you can just sell it to us now for the price that, for whatever price. They can just change the deal whenever. So anything that could possibly be created, there's no guarantee that at any one point in time, they don't just change the deal with you and take everything that you've made and take your entire company. And they prove that even further here in a second.
This agreement for any reason whatsoever, provided...
You got it, Silver Ogre, because the company has gone super woke. right? They've changed a lot of their they had to reprint. Did you know that there's 2 prints of the Monster Manual for 5th edition?
I did not know that. No.
There's an original print, right, of 5th edition, and then there's the second print, and the second print has a male succubus in it and puts more clothing on some of the female monsters because it was considered sexist.
I bet the original printing's a pretty rare find now.
No, it's pretty common.
That they give 30 days notice. So if any of you thought that 750k was a weird number for them to settle on, and that it was just a starting point, you may be correct. It means that stability is dead, and Wizards can effectively do whatever they want. If they wanted to own everything you created under the OGL, they would just give you a 30 days notice.
Yeah, a male succubus is an incubus. Thank you for that. Thank you for that extremely nerdy actually moment, chat.
But actually, in that manual, I'm pretty sure it's a succubus that is a male.
Well,
it's not considered an incubus.
I'd have to go read it. It probably has changed to incubus in the text.
Oh, well then that's the right term. It doesn't matter.
Everything you created under the OGL, they would just give you a 30 days notice and carry on their merry way. Not that they have to. The leak states that the company already gets the right to use anything that you create however they want. Wizards will have a, quote, non-exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, worldwide, sub-licensable, royalty-free license to use your content for any purpose. Also the language is so fucking harsh here. Wizards of the Coast will have a, quote, non-exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, worldwide, sub-licensable, royalty-free license to use that content for any purpose.
So what you're saying is there's soon to be a Vox Machina gacha game for Android and Apple.
You got it. Like they just have a right to just use whatever content you create and like make it fucking horrible if they want to. Or
dude, it's gonna be so fun.
Or right, you could create this really interesting campaign setting and book, right? And then they come in and say, okay, in 30 days, we're actually going to change it to where we want a 90% royalty. Or you can sell it, right? But not even sell it to us, right? They crush you out of business, and then they can print all of the shit that you made and say that it was under their license. Or they can just reprint whatever it is that you're using, a 1-to-1 exact copy, and then just sell it for, I don't know, half the price because they hit you with a massive royalty.
Irrevocable, worldwide, sub-licensable, royalty-free license to use your content for any purpose. There are many other changes in this 9,000.
You guess.
I guess it's time to finally write that campaign I've been thinking about, where the Demon Lord Kittler finally wins.
You know, it kind of does remind me a little bit of
WoW 3.
Not WoW 3, but what is it called? You said WoW 3 to fuck me up. Warcraft 3, yeah. Warcraft 3 where they remade it, and the Warcraft 3 Reforged, that's what it is. And in the Reforged, they completely fucked everything. But because of Dota, right? Dota was originally made on Warcraft 3 as like a map. And so they wanted to fucking make sure that never happened again. And so what they did is they said that everything that was made as a map was IP belonging to Blizzard. Right? And so what the people started doing is they started making the most vile, racist, fucked up games, right? And then being like, Blizzard, why is this your intellectual property? One of them was you play a Jew and you have to escape the swastika spinning, and it was called Gas the Jews. And you played a Jew trying to escape the fucking swastikas as it spun and see how far you could get. And another one was another thing that people they were sharing it on Twitter and everything was one where you're like you play like an elven archer or whatever, and you have to try and click and shoot the Negroes in the neighborhood, but not shoot the white women. Right? And it was called like Clean Up the Neighborhood or something. And and they were like, Jesus, why is this Blizzard intellectual property?
Why is this so racist over at Blizzard?
This wasn't, Porty, This wasn't the 90s. This was a few years ago that people did this. It was fucking beautiful. And they were like, Jesus, I can't believe Blizzard has this intellectual property. Like, gas the Jews and clean up our neighborhoods. Like, and and over top of them, it had like the N word, and it would be like zombies running around trying to attack white women. Oh God, it was.
Or did they use the orc character models?
No, they use the undead ghouls or something.
Word document, but these are the most important ones, and I think they get the
Silver Ogre's not wrong, and yet Blizzard had bigger skeletons in their closet.
Bigger pudding pops in their pocket. You know what I'm saying?
True. Alex Afrasabi fucking raping bitches in the hotel and getting girls to commit suicide because of their nudes being shared around, but not a problem. Due to Critical Role publishing the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount through Wizards of the Coast, Matt Mercer's World of Exandria kind of already belongs to Wizards of the Coast already. Yeah, no, I mean, I figure, I kind of figured that like some of that stuff was already under a licensing agreement with them, but it's certainly going to stop a lot of Kickstarters if this goes through. It's going to destroy a lot of Kickstart campaigns. Like, there's just no reason to use Wizards of the Coast when you could, like, there's Star Wars tabletop, there's 40K tabletop, there's Pathfinder, right? Like no, right? Like there are competitors that like you would just be a fool to go through Wizards of the Coast at this point.
There are many other changes in this 9,000 word document, but these are the most important ones, and I think they get the.
What am I talking about? You guys don't remember? Oh, Sir Leviticus wasn't here from the Boycott Blizzard days. All right, let me give you 1,000-foot view of Blizzard in bullet points. All right, so,
rape.
Okay, so the 1,000-foot view in bullet points of Blizzard and what has occurred is that under the leadership of Bobby Kotick, who promised to step down and was voted to be the CEO by the board again and is still currently the CEO of Activision Blizzard. Okay. Under his leadership, several key staff members, high officials, as well as a whole bunch of other people, were sexually harassing women at work parties and functions. They held up a big photo with a whole bunch of other people of, oh God, who's the pudding pop guy?
Bill Cosby, who will be going on tour in 2020 and this year.
So they called it like Bill Cosby. They brought women up to get them drunk enough to have sex with them. At one point in time, a girl committed suicide because she had had sex with her boss, and her boss had decided to share her nude photos to everyone at company parties, and she was just devastated by it because everyone was like calling her a whore and all this other stuff. There was regular reported incidents known as cube crawls, where the men at Blizzard Entertainment would get drunk and go from cubicle to cubicle sexually harassing women.
I really like the first half of that day, though. The getting drunk part, like, pretty cool place.
So let me get through this. So some of the reports of things that occurred, so you can get an idea of things, is one girl, for example, who has very large breasts. One of her coworkers would constantly try and jump scare her, and then stare at her chest and like make fun of her for being so easily startled. She brought it up to HR, saying that she felt uncomfortable, that she was constantly being touched by this employee, and that he was constantly making comments about her breasts and about like how he loved to watch her jump scare because it made her breasts jiggle. And so what the HR representative did was had her read an article from Harvard about how being overly sensitive in the workplace causes workplace problems, write a paper about it, and then present her apology to the person that was sexually harassing her and the HR team. Shit like this was super fucking common at Blizzard Entertainment for women working there. It was a horrible fucking environment. They attempted to unionize, so of course Bobby Kotick brought in a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of people to try and stop them from unionizing, which is, I'm kind of okay with that portion, but it is what it is. They brought in during some of the issues, they brought in the former Secretary of Homeland Security that advised President George W. Bush on enhanced interrogation techniques. They brought her in, and she wrote a vaguely threatening email threatening to fire any liars that were found out talking to California or to the press or anything. And basically saying that none of this is true and that all of the reports, etc. Now, California investigated them and they got a small hefty fine. They fired some of the really bad people, which, by the way, people that it was brought to Bobby Kotick's attention and they did nothing. And Bobby Kotick promised to step down, and he just quietly gave up some of his salary and then was voted back on the board and is still currently in charge of Blizzard Entertainment. I personally would love to play Dragonflight on World of Warcraft, but I refuse to play any Blizzard Entertainment game or give them any money at the very least until Bobby Kotick is fired. So that's the 1,000-foot view. There's a lot of details, a lot of stories, a lot of lawyers, a lot of apparently they were shredding documents at some point. California accused them of that, but we never saw any evidence of that. But that was their claim. There's a lot of gray area stuff. I hear you on all of that, but Diablo is still pretty amazing. I cannot wait for Path of Exile 2 to come out and talk about how amazing it is and shit on Blizzard more. And I don't even like those types of games, but I'll play it just to tell Blizzard to go fuck themselves. So there you go. There's a 1,000-foot view. Let's continue. We're almost done with the D&D drama video.
Point across. Lastly, Wizards of the Coast has not commented.
You said you think he's fired? That would be news to me. Bobby Kotick, Chief Executive Officer of Activision Blizzard. Nope. Still the CEO. There's a special place in hell for people like him if hell exists.
On any of this since it became news. Now, what does all of this mean for the future of Dungeons & Dragons? In the official statement by Wizards, this is before the leak, Wizards of the Coast told us that these changes exist to stop two things: third parties from making NFTs and big businesses exploiting their intellectual property. Now, I'm not sure about...
Why do they give a shit about NFTs? It's a scam. It's already a scam. Don't associate yourself with those things.
Because when you sell a D&D inspired NFT, they want their royalty.
I know, but you're gonna get so little money.
About you, but I have not been seeing any of this. I haven't seen any NFTs, and I haven't heard from big businesses exploiting D&D. Unless, of course, they consider you, the creator, the exploiter. They have already publicly stated that they feel owed if you make a certain amount of money, and with a clause that says that they can change the rules whenever they want, I suspect their ambitions do not stop at $750K. If all of this is true, and I'm being very careful to say that it may not be true, but for now, working with this leak that Wizards of the Coast has not confirmed or denied, many creators who make their livelihood off of D&D content are shaking in their boots, and for good reason. So, what does this mean for the future of Dungeons & Dragons? If this is true, shows like Dimension 20 and Critical Role will step away from D&D. Publishers will distance themselves as well, releasing content that is compatible with, but not officially a product for,
Final Fantasy 14 based. I mean, I'm not playing it. The guy in the videos just happens to be playing it.
I have played it.
I never could get into Final Fantasy 14. As someone that played a lot of MMOs, I don't know. I just didn't really like the art style, which is weird because I love Final Fantasy's art style. I mean, the animations and the ground animations and stuff. It just felt clunky to me. That's just my honest opinion, and I'm sorry if you disagree.
I just didn't enjoy it.
D&D. Creators like me who have been working on 5th edition content will be discouraged and stop. Between the leaks and what we know now, two things are clear. This hurts Wizards of the Coast more than it hurts the community. The community is only as hurt as we allow ourselves to be. For me, I'm unfazed. I play several systems.
All right, so yeah, he's just going to give some more opinions, and that's cool and all. Here's the link to the video. You should follow Crit Crab. Crit Crab does good work. Now, a little bit of an update, right? We will look at... So another leak here. We don't know. This is just a leak from Wizards. We don't know if it's true. Just, take it for what it is. From D&D Shorts, huge leak from an insider at Wizards. It's what we feared. The higher-ups despise us, the D&D community, and see us only as an obstacle to their money. So leaked from D&D. Hi.
That's been clear for a while, though.
What's that?
The part about them hating like the creators and the community, I feel like that's been pretty apparent for a while.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm an employee at Wizards of the Coast currently working on D&D Beyond and with D&D business leaders on the health of the product line. If you want, I can provide proof of this. I'm sending this message because I fear for the health of a community I love, and I know the leaders of Wizards of the Coast are looking at. Quote, they're briefly delaying rollout of OGL changes due to the backlash. Their decision-making is based entirely on the provable impact to their bottom line, which is to say a whole bunch of people have been canceling their subscriptions to D&D Beyond. Specifically, they're looking at D&D Beyond subscriptions and cancellations as it is the quickest financial data they currently have. They're still hoping the community forgets, moves on, and they can push through this. I decided to reach out because at my time in Wizards of the Coast, I've never once heard management refer to customers in a positive manner. Their communication gives me the impression they see customers as obstacles between them and their money. The D&D Beyond team was first told to prepare to support the new OGL changes in Online Portal when they got back from the holidays. And leadership doesn't take any responsibility for the pain and stress they cause others. Don't give a fuck about that. Leadership's first communication to the rank and file on the OGL was 30 minutes on January 11th. This was the first time they even tried to communicate their intentions about the OGL to employees, and even in this meeting, they blamed the community for overreacting. I will repeat, the main thing this leadership is looking at is D&D Beyond subscription cancellations. I hope your day goes well. P.S. I will be copy and pasting this message to other community leaders.
So what she's saying what they're saying is just subscribe to D&D Beyond and this will all go away.
Yeah. What it's saying is that they're hoping that people will just forget about it because there's a big wave of cancellations, so they don't want to drop the OGL right now. They'll just run out the clock. So if we go to D&D Beyond, right? The last thing they put out was January 10th. Okay, so 2 days ago amidst all this, right? They haven't really given us any updates in 2 days, and they said, we know you have questions about the OGL, and we will be sharing more soon. Thank you for your patience. So for 2 days, they've just sat on it and confirmed, we know you have questions, and we can neither confirm or deny anything. Good luck with that.
And this... Could this kill Wizards of the Coast? Like, does this have the potential to be just like a company-ending like backlash?
I mean, Hasbro, because of toy sales and and the fact that people aren't like going into like Toys R Us's anymore and things like that, they've been bleeding money for like a while. And this feels like a last ditch effort to try and utilize one of their franchises to get like to recoup costs.
The death throes of a wicked serpent.
Yeah, but like Hasbro is a company with like 1.2 billion in revenue, and D&D is like 150 million, right? But Hasbro is like not doing well. So I don't know. Like it's hard to tell. I don't know. I doubt that it will kill D&D. I doubt that this will kill D&D at all. But like D&D being this big cultural thing, if this goes through, it will be destroyed, right? Like it'll be a different table. Like the tabletop community will just simply move to another fucking thing. And like making games and making movies, they're not gonna be able to make nowhere near as much money because it'll lose that cultural influence. Because people will be like, who gives a fuck about D&D anymore? Like I'm all about blank, whatever it is. Right? Like it'll
be Drakensong.
It's not gonna be Drakensong. Again, one more time. One more time for the people who weren't here earlier. This is a Drakensong book. This is a player's manual book, all right? Drakensong is for the real hardcore nerds.
I'm always right.
This is just the core rules book, right? Like, this isn't the DMG, like combined. Like, hold on, let me just give me a number, okay? Give me a number between 1 and, let me make sure it's not like in the appendix. Number between
69.
Like 1 and 363. You said 69? Okay, what's on page 69? Let's see. Let me just explain to you why Drakensong is not going to take over, because you people are not ready for this. Okay, so on page 69 is page 2 of describing the Bornish witch, right? Mostly just lore on this. But if we look at just some of the stats, okay, for hero creation, we have social standing, advantages, good looks 1, spellcaster, disadvantages, afraid of fire 2, hairbound power, personality flaw, arrogance, bad habits, obsession with cleaning, messy, negative traits, curiosity, vengeance, special abilities, area knowledge, home village, connection to familiar, flying bomb, tradition, witches, languages, native tongue, Gorethi 3, because there's different levels of your language, by the way. You don't just know a language. You're either can speak it, you're fluent, you can read and write it, or you're advanced in it. Okay, Goblinish 2, literacy, Kusslicker signs, because there's like 40 different languages and they all use different alphabets. And so your ability to use one language allows you to slightly interpret languages you don't know based off of the alphabet structure. Combat technique, daggers 10, AT 12 / PA 6. Fencing weapons 6, AT 8, PA 4. And there's like 15 other skills here there. Skills. And it goes on and on and on and on. All right. No, this is not going to fucking... What are your base stats? No, D&D has 6 of them. Oh, well, Drakensong has 8 of them. Courage,
I'm always right.
sagacity, intelligence, charisma, dexterity, agility, constitution, and strength. There's no fucking way Drakensong supplants fucking D&D. There are way too many people that are like, I got to learn all of this. No, I'm fucking out.
Learn by
Hey, what's
doing.
up, Sammy G? There's an 8-page tabletop role-playing game. Yeah, there's one that just uses D6s. A bunch of them that just use D6s. And like you can be like a cook and like beat people with like your wooden spoon and shit. I kind of want to play it.
Frying pan, who knew?
Frying pan, who knew, right?
I mean, you pick one of those up, you know that like if you crack someone good with that, it's gonna hurt. It's a day ruiner.
All the weapons used to be 1d6. Yeah, because like it used to be like kind of a pain in the ass to get 20-sided die. Like now you can basically get 20-sided die for free if you go to a fucking if you go to like a tabletop store or something like that, like they have like free D20s to use there if you play a game there, and you can buy like a set of D20s for like $10.
Or you can just go online. You can go on Etsy and find, hundreds, if not thousands, of like different dice makers.
Yeah, like you can. There's a lot. Yeah. All right, so moving on more into the political realm, instead of like we're an hour and 40 minutes in, and we're finally gonna get onto this. Let's see. There are 2 leaks that I want to get in. So have a dice set made of glass? Hell yeah. Sorority knows what's
Those
up.
look sharp.
I would play Drakensong with Sorority. Sorority seems like she was a good rule nerd when we did play D&D back in the before times.
The one session we got through with Tailspire.
We got through 2 sessions of Tailspire.
True. Oh yeah, we did.
And we did a couple on tabletop.
Tailspire was so
Simulator.
much fun. I would re-download it just so I can like build cities and shit.
I would love to, I don't want to DM anymore, but like if I found like a DM, I would do it. But But no, I'm just saying sorority is the type of person that could learn Drakensong if she wanted to. Because like she's a pretty good rule lawyer. She'd be like,
don't know if she's
no,
got
that's not
time
how
for
that
that.
works. I mean, yeah, but it takes a while. Like it took me a long time to get through this book. You just watched a clip from our Twitch channel, Fabian Liberty. If you like content like this, please like and subscribe here on YouTube, or go ahead and give us a follow on twitch.tv/Fabian Liberty.